evening, good evening, good evening. Ugh. Good evening, everybody. And welcome to Keep It 100 with Meshell.A. Listen, super excited tonight about tonight's live. We are going to be talking to the first ladies, preacher's wives. So listen, if you know a preacher's wife, a pastor's wife, get them to come on in the room. I've got questions. This is a very transparent show. We do not bash the church, but we do talk about it. So some of my questions may make you uncomfortable, but I am ecstatic because we got a phenomenal person that's coming to join the platform on tonight. And she is a very transparent person. I'm excited about that. And so all I can say next is let's go. So listen, do me a favor, hit that share button and share out this segment. I'm going to be doing some technical things because I don't know what's going on with this tonight, but I'm going to bring her on up and she can introduce herself. Sis, you're on mute.
Hello.
How are you? So listen, so we finally got together. Listen, give me a minute because I'm trying to see what is going. Oh, okay, never mind. Let's see what is going on with this segment on tonight. Okay, so first of all, so welcome to the show. I want you to take and let everybody know who you are and where you're from.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I am Crystal Chris Wooden. I am overseer of Victory and Praise Church in the big city of Danville, Virginia, where my husband is none other than Apostle Joseph Faith Wooden. Um, I'm just an ordinary woman of God, if I can be honest.
That's
I,
right.
I tell people all the time I steer away from the church and I went to God. Um, I'm gonna leave it right there because I know we're gonna get into some stuff, and y'all know I can talk, so I'm gonna let her
No,
ask
no,
the questions
listen.
before I just put it on
I
the
want
floor.
you to go ahead because I'm still trying to get this stuff together. So just go ahead and I'll cut in when I'm ready, okay?
Okay, yeah. So I'm just an ordinary woman of God. If I can be honest, um, I never pictured myself as being growing up as being a pastor, a leader, a first lady, not even a wife, if I can be honest. Um, I'm from, some people say the rough side of the neighborhood, the rough side of town, And so I never dreamt that I would ever be in this position that I am in. But one thing I've learned since being a first lady, since being a wife, since being an overseer, a pastor, that it's different. And I thank God for my upbringing. I thank God that I came from the other side of the tracks, if I can be honest. I learned in my younger years that being on the other side of the track ain't all that bad sometimes. I learned how to build a village on the other side of the tracks. I
Good.
learned that in my neighborhood, we loved and we cared for each other. And so I can remember when, I was finally introduced to the church, I was thinking that I was building another community like family. I don't know about y'all who's up here tonight, but how many of y'all have came to church and you couldn't build a community of family in the church? And so I thank God for my community before I came to church because it taught me how to build that same community inside the body of Christ.
Okay.
Um, our ministry is different, if I can be honest. A lot of we don't connect to a lot of people. We're not connected to a lot of big names. We're not in the cliques. We're not into the cliches or anything of that nature because we believe in building a village. We believe in community, and we brought that back into the ministry. We brought that back into the church house where we can lean and depend on each other. Oftentimes than not, we go to ministries and we can't lean on the ministry. We're dying on the pew. Let's be honest, we're crying, we're going through. The church is feeding the people on the outside of the church, but there are people on the pew that's hungry. There's people on the pew that's starving. And one of the things that I have brought to the table as a first lady from being on the other side of the track, I can bring community. I can bring family back to the ministry and let people know that we can go through this thing together.
Okay. All right. All right. All right. So listen, I think they have already seen us on the platform together. So they already know what to expect. My inbox has been bumping today. So they wanted to know, and I'm not going to go into it now, but there were some people who wanted to see whether we were going to address the incident that happened with the first lady and the praise and worship leader. We'll tap into that because I would like to know how you would handle it and what is the proper way to handle it. But before we get started, I just want to go ahead and I just want to ask you about becoming a pastor's wife. Would you have ever thought in your whole entire life that you would be a pastor's wife?
I didn't. I didn't. And it's nothing that I even dreamt of. Um, like I said, I came from the other side of the tracks. I was raised by a single mom who did everything and anything to just survive. And
Right.
one of the things that we didn't do was we didn't go to church. We didn't go to church. And then when we did go, it was a special occasion. And I can remember when we went, we didn't stay long. And my mom had this theory about, even giving offering and tithes that had stuck with me in my head. So I never thought in a million years that I would be here.
Wow. Wow. So listen, so then I don't know what is going on my screen, but you're in and you're out. I'm losing you. So listen, so that just lets me know that this doggone show is about to be amazing. Can you see anything on your side?
Um, I don't see anything. Hold on, let me see.
I
I
don't
don't see anything.
I don't know what is going on here. Okay. So listen, I have never experienced this in my life. Okay. All right. Well, let's just go from here. All right. So, let me ask you, so as far as balancing first lady, um, being a wife, being a mother, being someone in the community, what does that look like?
For me, there is no in between. For me, I think God has given me the ability to be transparent. And so I live this thing for real, where there is no in between. There is no, I shut off being a wife. I shut off being a first lady. I shut off being a mom. I'm that every day, all day long. I don't care what building I'm in, what atmosphere I'm in, where I'm at. I'm representing all of those things at once. And I think that's where a lot of the church has been divided from the people. They want to make it seem like you have to be one way here and one way there. And that's not what the people of God want.
Mhm.
Generation X and Z, they want real, they want transparency. They want leaders that's gonna say, listen, I fall. I may not look the part every day, but I'm here. I'm showing up just like you. I'm trusting God. I'm believing God just like you. I'm out here getting it, surviving just like you. I work a 9 to 5 just like you. That's what the people of God want.
Mhm, mhm. Okay, so I was listening to you when you said it's all kind of together. So when it's time to be that wife, I know you're not over there speaking in tongues. Like
You said what now?
I said, when it's time to be a wife, I know you're not over there speaking in tongues and praying as a prayer warrior.
Well, I'm not, but at the same time, it isn't an off switch for me. This thing I live, it's so real to me that I don't feel like I'm turning it on or turning it off. I just know when to use it. I know when it's appropriate and when it's not. It isn't an on and off switch. Now when I come home, yes, I'm mom, yes, I'm wife, but you see my house. You
Yeah,
never know what you're gonna get when you come here.
so
I could
true.
be in full mommy mode, and I may have a brother and sister that walk through the door in need. And if it requires me to speak in tongue in my kitchen while sweeping the floor, still while chopping some onions, guess what? I'ma be and do just that. We have to get out of this space where we're turning this stuff off. Listen, it should be no turn off switch. You should be living this thing. I'm in the space now that I'm living exactly what I'm teaching and I'm preaching.
That and that is so good because what you're saying, like you just said, I literally have seen it in action. I've seen you in there and still ministering and still doing mommy and grandmom and cooking and all of that. So it is doable. Most people don't think that it's doable. Or I'll say this: do you think that the peak? Okay, so get outside of you and look at the whole role, okay, holistically. So, do you think that people put expectations on first ladies that they feel that they have to split it up?
They do. I truly believe they do.
Maybe
And I
that was
truly
a question I should have asked.
Yeah, they do. They do. But I think they put too much on leaders, period. I think a lot of times we're holding them to a standard that they can't even reach because truthfully, everybody's going through. Everybody's dealing with things that nobody knows about. And it's like it's a heavy weight. It's a heavy weight to try to carry. And I thank God that I came away. I've been delivered from people and religion. And so now I get all of my strength, everything that I need, it comes straight from God. And the thing about that is you're gonna have to step outside the box. You're gonna have to realize that you don't have to be that. You don't have to be what they say you are. I remember when my husband first became an apostle and I was only first lady. And I was sitting there. Sis, I promise to God, you don't probably don't even believe me. But let me tell you, it was a time I wouldn't even open my mouth because I was in fear of what people was going to say. To the point where, if I can be honest, I almost got voted out my own church.
I was going to go there, but being you already opened that up, let's talk about that.
I had the deacons and the menship come together and tell my husband that the first lady shouldn't be doing some of the things that first lady was doing. And if I can be honest, if nobody did what my apostle needed to be done, I would go and do it. If he would say, come and paint these baseboards, and by 5 o'clock nobody showed up, I'll go and start painting. If he said, listen, we need to go clean up the church, and nobody came, I would go and start cleaning. And they felt like I was, I don't know, maybe overstepping, taking their job, or trying to, be in the spotlight or something. But I was just being obedient to my
What
leader
needed to be done? Yeah.
and doing what needed to be done. And these men and women had meetings about me, wanting to throw me out of the church. Do you hear me? And it's crazy because during that time, God had me on a fast and he would not allow me to defend myself. And
Ooh,
my
I
husband,
was about to ask you, like, what did that look like just in that moment with feeling isolated, but yet still knowing that ministry is still a must.
and I think that's about the time when I gave up on people. It was right before the time where, because you can feel when people don't appreciate your presence. If I can be honest, you can feel when people don't like you. You can feel the tensity that comes with you stepping in the room, or you can feel people whispering, and you can feel people not wanting to talk to you. And so I had already begun to feel these things.
Wait. But you the first lady, so no, that can't be so.
Oh, yeah, it was so. And it was to the point where I had to ask God to deliver me from people. And it's crazy because I truly believe that's where my ministry birthed, because I had been so quiet for so long. And God said, "You just don't even understand. You have served well, but I have something on the inside of you that has to come out." And the thing about it is, everybody isn't going to like you.
Ooh, Jesus, Jesus,
And
Jesus.
it's crazy because I often tell my husband that I thank God who he is and who I am. And I knew God put us together strategically because he come from a large family and I come from a single mom and I was the only child. So I literally say I have the only child syndrome where I don't mind being alone. And so I believe my whole life has prepared me for this journey that God has me on, to be alone, to be distant, to understand everybody isn't going to like me. And I still must go on.
Okay, so let me ask you. I'm going somewhere, but I want to make sure I hit a lot of stuff. Okay, so in that moment, just speaking to the women who are at that spot and who are going, because sometimes we would think, you opened it up, but we would think that most first ladies wouldn't go through anything like that. You're a first lady, you look nice, everybody in the church loves you, and da 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 da. But to that first lady who is inwardly struggling and still trying to be there for her spouse, her family, but yet know that the church ain't feeling them. What would you say to that individual there?
You got to find you. You have to find you. And you have to find, what I found is when you're uncomfortable, it's because God has put you there.
Mm,
He always wants you in a place where you can grow, you can stretch. And you
mm,
have to understand that the moment that you start to feel uncomfortable is the moment that you should be stretching. And a lot of times we only want to be first lady. We only want to look nice. We only want to dress the part. And God said, "But I have more for you too." Because when the apostle, the pastor, the bishop's cup run over, who is the first the one that's supposed to catch it? His wife. And so you have to understand that God is pouring into you from your leader, from our husbands. We're getting, what's in the cup. We're getting that. And sometimes we sit on that. And God makes us uncomfortable because some of us just be sitting too long.
sitting too long. Well, do you think that some of them be trying to manage what it is they're going through?
Oh, yeah.
Because here's the thing. Not every first lady, and we just want to be honest, keep it 100. Not every first lady has a strong demeanor, a strong backbone. I've seen some first ladies that are
Oh,
very,
yeah.
very quiet, and they look the part. That, you know what I mean, as cute first lady. They probably don't got no anointing. They ain't got no verbal communication, but they're just there because it looks good. So not everybody has that to even realize that there's something else for me other than just this position or this role. That makes sense.
It does. It does. But that you have to have a community. You have to have people that know who you are. I often tell people my husband's friends aren't my friends. And that's because you have to have people that's going to be able to push you or going to be able to listen to you. You're going to be able to vent to, because as a first lady, you don't have a lot of friends. You don't have a lot of people that you can confide in. You can't confide in some of these women that's in the congregation that secretly there because they want what you have. You can't confide in a lot of people. And so you have to make sure that you have your own community.
Okay, so let's say this. Let's talk to a wait question. So can first ladies be broken in that position? Can they
Yes,
be
Lord.
broken, wounded?
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord.
Okay, so
And oftentimes missed.
so what?
And oftentimes missed.
That part, that part. So as a broken or wounded or whatever first lady, what if they are looking for love? What if they are looking for attention? What if they are looking for, okay, so they may have a emptiness, say in family and friends or what have you, and they do turn to the congregation and embrace them and bring them close, even when they know that some of the members are snakes, but they still bring in. Am I making sense?
You are, because a lot of them do that. I mean, because they don't have a community, they don't have people that really have their back. If I can be honest, there's so many first ladies that literally are out here getting it out the mud, if I can say that like that. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of times, because they're the backbone for the pastor or the bishop or the apostle, sometimes they are overlooked because their mommy, their first lady, their listening ear for their husbands, they're praying over their own leader, and sometimes the leader even misses them. If I can be honest, I can count on my hands the number of times my husband, Apostle Wooden, has ever prophesied to me. And I can remember being in
You're
that
so
place where,
transparent. You are so transparent.
listen, listen, because I want to help somebody, because I felt like he was overlooking me. I felt like I was being missed. And God had to tell me, He said, listen, I need you to understand that I made you a help me. So I need you to understand that the same God that He is serving, and because you are serving alongside of Him, He said, I'm including you. He said, I need you to understand that I'm going to have to direct and lead you through some of this stuff, because He don't even understand as what He's going through. He don't even understand that it's causing you to hurt. It's causing you pain, because when He's outside checking on everybody else, but He missed you at home, He don't understand what He's doing. So you have to understand that you're going to have to pull from me too. And so it went to a place in my mind where I was so down at one time, thinking that my apostle keeps missing me. My apostle don't see me. And God kept on saying, but I do. He
That's
kept on
a real
saying, I
place.
do.
That's a real place.
He said, I do. And it wasn't until I was at the point where I was in the middle of a circle and all the people around me were telling me I wasn't fit to be a first lady. And God had me in a quiet space.
I can't
I
even
was a
imagine that. Like the church that you're interceding and praying for and covering and trying to teach is the, I don't know. That is just the weirdest thing to me. I'm
listen.
quite sure that first ladies go through it. Not too many say that a congregation would be bold enough to say, we don't, you're not the one, you're not the fit.
But it's crazy, because I'm going to say what others won't. And I truly believe that's why God has allowed me this avenue to have a platform to say this, because so many pastors, first ladies are sitting there dying in their own ministries. In a ministry that they built, in a ministry that they're praying and interceding for. And they're sitting on pews, they're sitting in the pulpit, and they're drowning and they're bleeding, and nobody is seeing them.
And that's the thing. And they may not feel safe enough to
Mm-mm.
be able to share. Okay. So I'll always say I'm a preacher's kid. And if I was to ever unravel what I feel about the church and how the church has treated me, then the reflection would go on my parents. But even though it's my own personal walk, you still have to be mindful, and you're on, and this, like I said, this just preaches. You have to be on tiptoes, because if you say something about what you're experiencing, then the first thing the church is thinking you're talking about your parents or your leaders, and so you end up suffering in silence. Like it's a lot of first ladies that are suffering in silence because they really want to rip off the tape that's over their mouth, but where do you go? Who do you talk to? You know what I mean?
Listen, and it's crazy because I really don't know who you would go to other than God. And it's sad because that's who I had to go to. I didn't have a friend. I didn't have a family member. I told you, I'm from the opposite side of the tracks. I didn't even know no pastors' wives. I didn't know no first ladies that, that I felt like I could confide in because number one, I already feel like an outsider. I'm from the street. I'm from the hood. A lot of times my demeanor is kind of rough, even just talking to me. And so a lot of them have always stared away from me. So I had no other choice but to submit myself to God. And I had to go back to the word, to the very first foundation. I had to get all of what I got from the word.
Wow.
I literally had to start over. Do you hear me? I literally had to start over. It was almost like I was opening my Bible for the very first time and saying, God, make me over. Because if I did anything to the church, if I have hurt people, God, make me over. Because I didn't know what I was doing because I haven't been in church that long. And I
Mhm.
remember God saying, I just got a different, I got a different lane for you, but you got to trust me in this.
Okay, I got you.
And breaking away from the church and finding God again was one of the hardest things I had to do.
Mm.
I had to find out that he works for the just as well as the unjust.
It was an unjust.
As many times have I heard people preach and people say that, oh, you're going through because of what you're doing and what you're dealing with. And God had to redirect me and said, no, 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 no. I need you to teach people different. I need you to teach them faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of that is love. You can love the hell right out of somebody, but you got to love them for real.
And you have to bypass your own personal feelings, your own personal opinions, and still put God first.
And still put
Wow.
God first.
Okay, so what would you say are the greatest challenges that you face in the role as a first lady?
My greatest challenge is now um, being consistent. Being consistent as a first lady. Because a lot of times I want a mother.
Oh, that's good. That was good. Oh, that was good.
Listen,
Those are
listen to me.
two different roles.
And they're two different roles. And it's crazy because I tell my husband all that I had told in the past, I had always told him, I never want a mother, I never want a woman pastor. And he would ask me all the time, he was like, why in the world would you say that? I said, because I don't want to be mothered, I want to be pastored. And a
Well,
lot of times,
wait a minute. Hold on, hold that thought. Just stop right there because that is a big difference between being a pastor and a mother. Just break it down another level because, as you said, most people are mothering the sheep instead of pastoring the sheep. Just talk right there for a second.
as a mother, sometimes we want to protect our young. We want to protect our babies. We don't want them to be in any harm or danger. We want to make sure that we're covering them in everywhere they go, everything that they're doing. And I hear pastors tell congregations, oh, I don't need you over there fellowshipping with them. I don't want you over there going over there with them because something might jump off on you. Something over there they may have going on, and we don't do over here. And I had to listen to that for years to understand that that's mothering, and that's not pastoring.
Wow.
Because as a pastor, I'm only required to give you the word of God. And truth of the matter is, and it's crazy because even with mothering and pastoring, I've tried to change it even in my own life because I want to teach my kids that I want to love them enough to let them go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we should be doing as pastors. But we're trying to hold on to the people of God. We think the people belong to us. We think these are our babies. They shouldn't go nowhere. They should stay right up under us. Oh, we got to navigate their life. We want to pick who and choose who they should be around, pick and choose who they should marry, who they should deal with. And that's mothering, and that's not pastoring.
You done said a whole lot. I'm glad you said it because if I said it, they would have said I was bashing the church. But do you really think you're helping the people by covering over them like that? Like, if do you think you're really out? You're more so hurting them because
Hurting them.
you're not allowing them to operate in what you
Mm-hmm.
taught them.
Mm-hmm. And that's control. And God is not a God of control. That's why he give us free will. So why in the world is the church taking away my free will? That's almost like the world now is taking away our freedom of speech. You are not allowing me to be who I need to be because you're trying to control every aspect of me. But the truth of the matter is, sometimes what I have on the inside of me, you're missing because you're sitting there trying to control only what you're seeing. But God is a God who's always working, always present, always stretching me. So maybe you haven't even seen the half of what God wants from me yet, but you're so busy trying to control me that I can't even be who God wants me to be. And so now I'm learning how to separate the mother in me from the pastor in me.
That is so good. So listen, I was listening to what you were saying, and it took my mind back to my family church. We had a first lady that was there. Listen, when I say she would use, she might didn't know it at that moment, but they were like, what do you call them? Fear tax. And she was the meanest first lady that we could ever come across. I mean, it was rules and regulations. It was sit down. You know, back in the day, they believed in you couldn't wear pants, couldn't wear makeup, you couldn't this.
Mhm.
And so our church at that time was like, it was the happening. You know what I mean? It was a happening. But there would be people. We could be in choir practice or whatever, and people off the street would hear us because the windows was up and want to come in. You know, she would stop them at the door and tell them they couldn't come in, sit down on the step because they had on pants. Or I mean, she was so strict that people didn't want to come to the ministry because they didn't want to deal with her. So, is it possible that in this season that we have, that there are first ladies who are like that?
Oh, there is. There is. I deal with them and come across them every single day. And the truth of the matter is, I'm bold enough to call them by name, but I'm not going to do it on your
Yeah,
show.
great.
I'll wait for my own. But they're here. They're like that. I know a church right now that locks their doors. Um, after they feel like enough people is in there, they'll lock their door. I know churches where you can't go in with pants or jeans on, and not to say, I do understand you may want them to come in as a certain attire, but you never know what somebody is dealing with. You never know what somebody is going through, and you never know, they could have did everything that they could just to get there. Let's say they spent all of their money on an Uber just to get to church because they just needed God. Because I've been in that place. I remember me and my husband was going through years ago, and we were separated, and I called my leader, my pastor, and I told her, I said, listen, I'm just trying to get to church because I'm broken, I'm torn, I'm hurt. And she said, oh, well, you live all the way out in such and such, and I can't come and get you. Do you have a church that's right there in your neighborhood you can go through? And I said, I never want to be that.
Wait, this is the first. Wait a minute.
Sis, sis, listen, I've been overlooked all my life. And I truly believe it was one of those cases where people didn't think I was going to be nothing
Mm-hmm.
because I kept my mouth closed, but they didn't even understand that I was just eating. I kept my mouth closed because my mama told me when you eat, you keep your mouth closed. And so all these years I was serving under leaders and I kept my mouth closed because I was just eating. I'm
Okay.
feeding off. I was eating what you was giving me. I'm eating it. And when it didn't, when it wasn't nurturing to my body, I left it right there on the table and I kept on going because I knew that there was something that God had for me.
Wow. And then it taught you to not become what you seen.
Not become what I seen.
Okay. So, all right. So, that was my question. So, what my next question is? So, what are the most rewarding parts of being a first lady?
Oh, oh my God. The people, the experiences, to be able to be somebody that somebody can confide in, to be that person that somebody can look up to, especially me, to know that I came from the other side of the tracks and know that God has anointed me this position. He anointed me in this. Um, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for every conversation. I'm grateful for every hug. I'm grateful for every tear that I shed with somebody that's going through. I'm grateful that God trusts me in this position.
Hmm. Okay. So, all right. So, my next question is, what are the most significant misconceptions that people have about pastor's wife? Because listen, it's a lot of them. It's a lot of them. So, for you, what are they?
That we don't do nothing, that we just all sit and look pretty.
Oh my God.
Come on, let's be honest. That's what they say. They all just sit and look pretty. They just all they want to do is get their hair and nails done. They can't preach. They ain't talking about nothing. All they doing is justifying everything that their pastor, their husband, and significant other say. And people can tell you that I don't always agree with the apostle, and I don't mind saying it.
Wow, wow, wow. Okay, that's good because you walked me into that. I wasn't going to ask that question, but let me ask this question now. Okay, so what does it look like when the apostle or the pastor is going left, and he's carrying the congregation left with him? What does that look like as a first lady? Do you sit back and twiddle your fingers and watch? What does that look like? Because it happens a lot.
But you talk
So
about me now, so you already know I ain't keeping my big mouth quiet. I'ma say it. I'ma say, and I think now that um, I think
I'm
because
gonna
of
say it. I'm gonna say it.
I'ma say it, but me and my husband have been through so much together. You know, everything that we went through had to happen for us to be able to trust each other on another level. And the one thing that I can say about our ministry is that he's the yin to my yang. We don't do everything the same. He has a Pacific people that he may minister to, and I have a Pacific people that God is allowing me to minister to, and we listen to each other. Yeah, sometimes we don't like what each other say. Yeah, because change oftentimes ain't good. You know, people always say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but I beg to differ, because if you start loving on that dog and you start teaching that dog that, listen, I love you, but it's some stuff we gotta change, we gonna change it, and the dog will change, and you won't get no resistance. And so we have learned how to navigate together. We have to learn how to depend on each other, and that's something that a lot of pastors and first ladies ain't doing. A lot of times, the pastor, the bishop, the male figure isn't reliant on his wife. He don't consult with her. He don't oftentimes, worry about her, what she's thinking or what she got going on. But I thank God, because my apostle, he want to know. He asks questions. What you think? Because he know that we're two separate entities in this church, but we're building one body.
So was it always like that, or is it now? Because not some people have gotten to that point, but before they got there, it was a train wreck.
Oh yeah, it was. But I can honestly say we never did that openly. Never. And it's crazy because even now, if we have a disagreement, nobody would know. Nobody would know. And that's because of the respect that we have, not only for each other, but for our congregation. Now, let me tell you, he already know. I'm going to talk about it. Because y'all, listen,
Soon as
y'all know
something's over with, I'm letting him have it.
I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to let the people know, because at the end of the day, I want other women of God, other pastors, other first ladies, other overseers to know that it's okay to disagree and still disagree in love.
Listen, okay, so I'm glad you said that, because if you have a church, this is just my thought pattern, okay? So if you have a church and I'm an individual who's getting delivered from being strong-willed. I'm always overbearing. I always got something to say as an individual. But God is trying to take me through a process of deliverance and soften it up. But if I have a first lady who is exactly the way that I am, do you think that that would strengthen what's inside of me? Or you understand what I'm saying?
I do, because I'm feeling like you just talking about me and trying to say I'm just strong willed. But let me tell you something,
No,
sis.
no, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm
Let
not.
me. I know when to be. Is what I'm saying. Yes, I am strong willed. Yes, I'll say exactly what's on my mind. But let me tell you something. I don't say it when I'm mad. I don't talk when I'm angry. It will be days before I'm transparent enough to tell people what I went through. And that's because I pray and ask God, how do I deliver this?
Now listen, so I'm not talking about behind the scenes, because what you and your husband do behind church doors, that's y'all's. I'm talking about in ministry, as me, as a, what is it, a baby eagle, looking. Are you teaching me to be outspoken? Are you teaching me to be overbearing? Are you teaching me to not, you see what I'm saying?
I
By
do, but I don't even I know a lot of people see me up here and they see me, saying what I say, being transparent. But if you was to see me in ministry, if you was to see me inside the church, you would understand that I'm submitful inside the ministry.
so
We agree to disagree.
my question wasn't to you about your situation
Okay.
holistically.
Oh no, I mean it just depends on the first lady. It depends on it. I mean, you can be over, you can talk and say what you want to say, but it's the way you say it and where you say it at, because just because you may have a parishioner that is strong-willed and you're strong-willed, that parishioner may never see you in that element. They may see you outside of ministry like that, but it just depends on, it really just depends on the first lady. It depends on, is she doing this inside the ministry? Is she, letting it be known to everybody? Because a lot of times, like I said, it's I ain't gonna say it's a switch, but I know when and where. I know that, how to be church etiquette. I know how, to be submitful, and I know we know how to do these things. So it just depends on the first lady.
Okay. All right. So what does, because I don't know whether this happened to you, but what does not first, what does rebukes look like for a first lady? Or do y'all get rebuked?
I get rebuked.
That was good. Wait a minute. You said it with a straight face, like, I get rebuked.
Yeah, I get
So
rebuked.
what,
I
what
didn't.
does that what does that look like? Because most of the time the congregation, well, some congregations see it, but most of the time we don't see that. So what just as an example, what would that look like? Either
Um,
in front of the church or behind the church.
it it wouldn't be in front of the church, because I don't think I've ever done anything that was worthy enough to be in front of the church. A lot of it is me being rebuked from, just conversation, and let me tell you, because for those of you that don't know, my apostle don't play. Listen, and where you do it at is where he's going to rebuke
Where
you
it
at.
gonna get you?
Listen, and that's where he's going to get you at. If he feel like you're out of line with the church, or with what's going on, he will do it. But he would do it in love. You would know the difference. It isn't going to be a harsh thing. But we sometimes don't want to take accountability. But I thank God, because I know what accountability is, and I
Mhm.
know how important it is for you to be accountable, even in the church.
Okay, so I was just reading what one of our viewers said, and she said the church shouldn't see it. But what if the church does see it? What if the church does see it?
The church can see it, but the world shouldn't. Because
Oh,
I know we're talking about that's where I really have a hard time with church and the cameras in the church all the time. We do a live stream at our church too, but we're not showing the full congregation. And when apostle is speaking of things with the dealing with the people inside the church, we cut the camera. The world doesn't need to see everything that's inside of that building.
okay, sis. My questions are on the side. I wasn't gonna go there, but I do want to. I do want to ask the question. Just me, you talking, and we family, okay? So, with the incident that just took place with the first lady rebuking the praise and worship leader and on cameras and all that, I have literally heard um, a few pastors, a few first ladies saying that they need to take the cameras out of the church. That does something to me, right? That really that puts me in a I can understand like what you just said. Like I don't believe in video and prophecies or people
Hmm.
workshops or different
Hmm.
things like that. So I am a reporter, but I don't get everything. There was an older lady who was in a nursing home who sent message, thank you for recording your Sunday services because I can't get out and this is the only service that I see, right? So, but it makes me feel like, because if you really be honest, it's some churches that's real shady. It's
Hmm.
some churches that's in there just controlling the people. Well,
It is.
I don't got to go to your church. You see what I'm saying? Like, and they're talking to the people any kind of way. So just on that pulling the camera thing out, what's really your thoughts on that? Because I think it would stem back to how you're treating the people that a camera wouldn't even matter.
Right, you're right, and like I said, we live stream, and if you pay attention to our live stream, it's only focused on the pastor, on the speaker.
True. Yeah.
I don't do a whole lot of recording of the congregation. You don't need to see who's in the building. You don't need to see who's going through what or whatever else. And when it begin, prophecies of different natures, different things of that nature. If there is an open rebuke that does happen inside our congregation, the cameras come off. But we have that ministry where we know who our leader is and we're trusting our leader. And if we're trusting our leader and we're trusting his opinion, or we're trusting that he's leading us the right way, we should be able to handle, the open rebuke. It should be a thing where we're, thinking that it's against, the end of the world. Truth of
Yeah.
the matter is, apostles step on my toes every Sunday. And I take it, I say ouch, and I keep on going on. But now we're living in a day and time where, people can go from church to church to church, and they can go where somebody is feeding their hunger instead of feeding them what they need.
True. True.
And,
Okay.
and truth be told, so many people are looking for a way out. They're looking for an easy Jesus, if I can be honest. They're looking for the Jesus that's going to tell them it's okay to still do what they're doing. That it's okay to still live the way they're living. But at the same time, there should be decency and order with that. It shouldn't be lies. You should be able to trust your leader enough for him to speak over the pulpit if it's need to be. But it shouldn't be something that's, broadcast to the world. No, no,
That's good.
no.
That's good. Okay. So listen, I was speaking with a friend of mine, a pastor friend of mine, and I was sharing with them that there was a ministry where a lot of people said that this was in my old hometown. A lot of people did not want to go to that ministry because of the first lady, because the first lady was busy, because the first lady was constant. What's the word? We're nitpicking and different things. Like, is that possible, or is it first ladies who are like that? If so, what does that look like? Because
Horrible.
not everybody runs into that, but then there are some people who are in ministry when their first ladies are dictators, or their first ladies come straight from the army, straight from what, and run the ministry like that.
But I always, and this is something that I always teach and tell people, when you're going to a ministry and you're looking for a ministry, when you first walk through the door, always look to the first lady, because the first lady is the representation of the church. The word says that.
That's
And
good.
so you want to know how the heart of the church is? It's in the first lady. If the first lady is stern and mean and nasty, the congregation gonna be stern,
It's so
mean,
true.
and nasty.
It's so true. So true. But listen, it's a lot, and keep your thought, because I want to park right there, because most churches that you go into in nowadays, it's a lot of first ladies who are broken and vulnerable.
Mhm, mhm,
I mean, really, really, really
mhm.
broken and vulnerable, and don't get a chance to get ministry. So you might not even see it. You,
Right.
you, you know what I mean? Like, because we've got this thing now, 2025, it's been going on forever, but we know how to put our gift out front so that you don't see our brokenness.
Mhm.
So how can you look at the congregation and look at the first lady if she's in a corner and don't know who she is?
Let me tell you again, you will
Ah!
feel it from you will feel it from the first lady, and it spews over into the congregation. Listen, I promise you, 9 times out of 10, the heart of the church is at the hands of the first lady. Um, and she can be silent, she can be private, and that still will be the spirit in the building, because the first lady is the representation of the church. The woman is the representation of the church. That's because, number one, she's the foundation in the home.
You already out
She,
there. I mean, you already out there. You don't need to
you,
pull
you
up
and
in
you
here.
already know. You
You
already
out
know. I
there.
don't care. People don't like me anyway, and it's okay. But I don't think they don't like me. I just think that sometimes they're afraid of me because I'm going to tell the truth. And a lot of people don't want to tell the truth that we are sitting up there and we're dying sometimes. We're sitting up there and we're bleeding on people that literally we don't have to bleed on. And so, but yeah, when you first go to a church, look to the first lady. You're going to see the heart of the ministry. And sometimes that don't look good. Sometimes
Good.
the first lady is up there, she's losing it, she's losing her mind, she's covering her husband in areas that sometimes she shouldn't even have to be covering them in, but because of the position that she's in, because they're used to her having to sit there and smile through everything, that sometimes we're end up stuck in a ministry where we're covering because the first lady been covering.
Wow. Wow. So do you think that there are first ladies in the ministry? I've seen this a lot, where the first lady doesn't really get a chance to breathe because they're taking the position of the leader, because the leader's chilling. So they have to take the weight of the ministry and still be mother and still be businesswoman and still be wife, but overwhelmed with the load that's not even heard. It's a lot of first ladies that are like that. And I say, so when you look, it's they don't have a title of first lady, they have a title of bishop, apostle, pastor. You know what I mean? And talk to us in that area. I was tiptoeing on that because it's more than
It
this
is.
guy.
And I've met first ladies who write their husband's sermons. I've met first ladies who literally are preaching the sermon to their husband. I mean, by way of earphone. I mean, I've seen so much, since I've been in ministry, that the weight of a first lady is incredible. The way God has literally designed us is incredible.
Hmm.
Because sometimes we're taking on the weight of the world
Hmm.
and we're still functioning and we're still breathing and we're still taking care of everybody else.
Hmm. That's what I wanted to hit. When I first decided to do this live before the incident took place, my thought pattern was the weight of a first lady because the congregation really does not know. You know, the people really do not know like the true really weight of a first lady. And then it's so many times you may have to get in your car and ride alone by yourself just to manage all that's been put on your shoulder or all of the emotions that may be all over the place. Or if you are first lady and you got discernment or you have a gift of prophecy and you pick up that the people or other um, pastors are just connecting to you to get what they can, it will kind of shift you. It
It,
will kind of put you in a place. But if you're a type of individual who love God and you always want to be in alignment with God, you really have to work it out. We don't see that. We just figure we put expectations on first ladies.
with the words that you got to work out your own soul salvation, I find myself doing that a lot. Um, because who do you confide in? Who do you tell? Sometimes. And I thank God that I always am a shoulder for somebody else, but sometimes I can't find a shoulder for me. I can't tell people what's really going on or what really transpired at that moment. I eventually tell it, but I have to seek God and find the right words to tell it, where I'm not just bleeding on people, but while I'm bleeding, I'm healing somebody else as well, if that makes sense. Because at the end of the day, I know people say, well, when you're bleeding or when you're going through, you need to sit down, but what do you do when people are dependent on you?
When you
um
can't sit
and
down
you can't
or
sit down, and you
you
have to bleed, and you have to preach, you have to bleed, and you have to mother, you have to bleed, and you have to be an overseer. And I'm always asking God, how do I do this? How do I navigate through this? How do I get through this? And I promise you, he's been my strong tower.
wow, wow, wow. You know, the sad thing about it is that well, I'm a preacher's kid, so I'm just now going into a ministry where there's a first lady. I was going to Powerhouse, the Bulls, and they were amazing. My first lady was amazing. She pulled me to the side. My pastor, my bishop, said that God told them that I was their assignment. So when I was there, she checked. She didn't babysit me. She checked on me. My God, did she rebuke me? You know what I mean? She told me my life was dysfunctional. No one ever told me that because I'm Shell. Y'all tell me that my life was dysfunctional. And she pulled me to the side to help me walk through deliverance. But yet she was going through her own individual stuff. You know what I mean? I got a chance to see all that. I got a chance to see the personal side and not just put an expectation on her like, oh, she's Wonder Woman. She never has a human life. She never does. I was able to see that and then respect the level. I respect what she gave me as well. So as far as a first lady, most people, most of them can't go to the congregation because the congregation may use it as a weapon
Right, right,
against them.
right, right. And they do. And I mean, and it's sad because the one thing I've learned from church, and being on the from the wrong side of the tracks, if I could say that, I had more community on the wrong side of the tracks than I've ever had in church. Even the community of family that I built in the projects, where I used to stay, they still cover me. Church will hear things about me and believe it. They're my community. from the projects, they know me. They knew I wouldn't do it. They'll stand up for me. They gonna go to bat for me. But it's been the church who crucified me. It's the church who don't believe that I do this for real. It's been the church. And so that's the reason why you have to have a strong, solid foundation. You got to know who God is. Now, I don't want to say you have to have tough skin, but boo, you got to have some tough skin to realize that, listen, these church people will take you down and through there, honey. They will make you lose your religion, repent, and gather it all back up in the same hour. You have to know who you are, and you got to know whose you are. You got to know who you belong to, who saved you, who delivered you. You got to understand that they didn't deliver you. They didn't save you. They ain't got no heaven or hell to put you on. You got to understand who you doing this thing for, and you got to walk in that.
So, as a first lady, how do you? Well, I don't want to say balance, but how do you? So you've got the church, but then you've got you. How do you not cross the lines where Apostle Crystal and then we are so tight that you now just become Crystal to me? So how do you? Oh God! So how do you do that? Wait, okay. I know what I'm trying to ask, but I don't know how to put it in a nutshell. Okay, so because you're a first lady and you have a uh, um, you deal with insecurity, or you deal with rejection, or you deal with whatever. But then you've got your church, who is your church family, and you don't want to feel this void, so you pull the church close to you, even when you know they're wounding you. How do you not keep them so close where they don't disrespect you? Because now
I
you're just
think
a woman to me.
I thank God that I ain't said I mastered it, but I thank God that we have went back and retrained our people to know the difference.
That's
We
good.
had to go back and start from scratch to allow them to know that I go through just like you. I deal with life just like you. That's why the word of God said, where there's two or three gathered in his name, he can be in the midst. The problem is leaders don't have those two or three. And so we had to go back into our ministry and say, listen, not only are you our parishioners, not only are you my deacon, but you my two or three. And so I need you to know what I'm suffering with so you will know what to pray for. Not that you come too familiar with me, but you come familiar with the things that I'm going through so we can fight this enemy together.
Mm,
And so, but listen,
you say we go back. You didn't say you go back by yourself. So you had, which actually meant you had strength when you went back. You had covering when you went back.
mhm. No. I'm talking about we go back and we retrain the church
Got you.
because a lot of the people that we had in ministry had been in ministry all their lives. So they wasn't used to their seeing their leader go through. They didn't know the signs when their leaders was depressed. They didn't know the signs when their leaders was on the verge of committing suicide, and they wasn't looking for it. And so now we have at Victory and Praise, we didn't went in and we didn't revamped our ministry to fit us, to tell our people, listen, you got to know how to look for the person on the pew, to make sure the person that you sit beside is good, to make sure your leader is good. Look for the way they talk. Look for the way they reacted. Look for the things that they're doing. If it don't sit well with you, if you know that's out of their character, you got to know when to start praying.
Listen, no disrespect, but baby, pride is not going to allow some of these leaders to do that. Pride
Oh, I
is
know.
just not going to allow them to do it because
Mhm.
they don't want the church to know that they're going through their church. They don't want the church to know that they're having a rough time. So if you don't want the church or your ministry to know or see that in being all not well authentic but transparent, how can you expect for your intercessors to cover you? How can you expect for people to know and see all of that stuff if all we see is Superman? So
Well,
how do
you can.
you teach them?
You can. And it's crazy because a lot of the old church are stuck in their ways. That's the reason why I'm not one of their favorite people, because I teach people different. I teach them how to pray for a leader. I teach them to look for the signs. And I'm not a favorite in the church world. I'm not one of those people that they're calling on constantly, because I teach people to allow your pastor or your leader to be your pastor or your leader, but also don't miss the signs of them being human.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's why I think that's when we begin to put expectations on our leaders, expecting for them to always be there for us, as if they don't have a life.
They don't have a life
Yeah,
and they're not going through. And the crazy part is, this is why we have a dying church. We have a dying church. It's not a lot of churches that's filled on Sunday mornings. People are tired of being lied to. They're tired of their pastors and leaders hiding. I seen something. I think it's on in North Carolina. Y'all have a page where it's somebody that's always exposing a leader. Like,
yeah.
y'all don't even allow the leaders a time enough to tell their own story. Y'all waiting to hear something from them. And truth of the matter is, we missing the fact that they needed the love the whole time. We'll be in the congregation and we're missing our own leaders. Leaders are dying right now behind pulpits, dying, losing their minds, losing their life.
Wow. So would you say that the body of Christ would, I don't want to just say the church, but the body of Christ would need to be regrouped,
We do.
retrained,
We do.
renewed,
We do.
reset?
We do.
So we know
We
that,
do.
right? How do you do? So just say if it's a first lady who is seeing this and she's the heart of the ministry and she's the mother of the ministry, what would it look like to revamp or regroup or reset the mindset of your church? Because if not, you're gonna keep getting hurt with the same things. How would you do? What does that look like?
I have something simple that I tell pastors and leaders. And what I would tell you is to treat the church as if it's the hospital, and let your congregation know that everybody inside that church is sick.
Mm,
Everybody from the pulpit to the door is dealing with an ailment, and allow them to see it in a spiritual realm. Tell them everybody is sick. Everybody is going through something. So you don't need to lean to your neighbor, because a lot of times we want to come into church and we want to get clicked up and we want to hang out with this one. But some of the diseases that they got, you can't see. Some of the stuff is internal. Some of the stuff is mental. And so once you start looking at your church as the hospital, you start seeing people's sickness.
mhm.
And so the one thing that I've always taught is, when you're trying to retrain your ministry, or you're trying to um, make a ministry that's not only helping the ministry but helping the leaders, teach your people that the church is a hospital and everybody in there is wounded. Everybody in there is coming for God. So that means nobody is greater than the other.
That's
That
good.
means everybody needs something from God.
That's
So don't get distracted because this person look better than you, because they still going through. They still here because they need God.
that's good. So this will be my last. I got two more questions. So I want to ask you, how important is it? Because we're talking about first ladies, how important is it as a first lady to be healed? How is important? How important is it? Because we can become accustomed of not, as you said a while ago, not dealing with our wounds, not dealing with our broken. Here's the thing: a lot of women, first ladies, pastors do didn't get an opportunity to really go through true deliverance in every area of their life. And now, boom, they're pastors, they're bishops, they're apostles, they're deacons, or they picked up wounds along the way. and you're still going through the process, and you got a whole congregation. I don't care if it's 3 people that's set before you for you to minister to, and you're broken and you're wounded. How important is it to be healed in this process?
It's very important, especially if you're a first lady or a pastor or a leader that's looking to heal your congregation, to set them on the road of deliverance. And it's very important to get a therapist. Listen, a lot of times we don't want to say it, but we need somebody we can sit down and just talk to.
That's
You
good.
know,
That's good.
and so we have to be healed. We got to go back to those childhood traumas, to those hurts that were swept under the rug, those conversations that families really didn't want to have. And we need to deal with those things, because truth of the matter is, not only will you be saved through that, but you can save somebody else. Because I always say, I never wanted to be under a leader who never had been through anything.
Do anything. Oh. So listen, but you can be a leader who's been through so much and hasn't got delivered and got healed. The devil doesn't have to take you outside of the ministry. He can use one individual,
Hmm.
pack them down with everything that will trigger you up, that will shut your mouth, that will stop your process. And they can have all of the goodies in one bag and sit right in the church and taunt you if you don't take care or let go of what has traumatized.
That's right. That's right. And it's crazy because even today, where God had spoke to me last night, and he told me to tell the people of God that this was going to be the week of open doors, bigger and better. Right. And
Mm,
so I woke up this morning, I was on cloud 9. Do you hear me? I was excited for this week, and I woke up with a blessing. I literally woke up and I seen the manifestation of God in my life. And we were riding home this evening, and God said, well, in the midst of you preparing for the rest of the week, he said, I need you to go back and get some stuff right.
mm.
And I said, God, he said, yeah, I need you to go back, because sometimes you're gonna have to give up your right for somebody else's wrong. A lot of times we're holding grudges, we're bitter, we're angry, we're mad, we're thinking that because we don't talk to this person, or we're not dealing with this person, that our, everything is going to change. And God is saying simply, sometimes they were your assignment too, and now it's time for you to go back and get them. And so it's very important that we're listening for the voice of God, that we're healed enough to know that sometimes we're gonna have to go back. Sometimes we're gonna have to repent. Not sometimes. He said repent daily, for the things seen and unseen, for the things that you didn't thought of. You need to start repenting. And a lot of people are up here, they're preaching and teaching the word of God, and they're telling you how they live in this life, and they're not doing this or not doing that. And the truth of the matter is, they're lie.
They lie. They lie.
They're lie.
They lie.
They're lie. You be in your car driving, and you mad because somebody didn't cut you off. Anger. The spirit of anger that came up against you. You didn't put up your middle finger. You in your car. Ain't nobody seen you. And God said, listen, some of us got to go back. Some of us got to go back and really get healed and delivered, so we can help heal and deliver somebody else. We overcome by somebody else's testimony. And
That,
so, God, you are the greatest testimony that God wants to use.
that is so true. This is my last question. So, I want you to comment on the fact of a first lady who was a bully, or a first lady who is controlling, because not every first lady is dainty. Not every first lady is warm and welcoming. Not every first lady can you really go to and really share what you need to share. A lot of people will bypass the first lady and go to the husband.
Mhm.
So talk to that individual, because sometimes first ladies, if you're in it, you don't see it.
Right.
But how damaging is it if you are a first lady that's a bully?
It's
Or,
very damaging.
or can you be a first lady that's a bully?
Oh yeah, you can definitely be a first lady as a bully. I I've definitely seen some first ladies and know of some first ladies who are some bullies who the congregation feel like they can't go to. I have a lot of people that I minister to on a daily basis that will say, I can't go to my first lady. I could never talk to her in this manner. And what I can tell you is that's when you have to move self out the way. And you got to realize that the position that you're holding is going to require you not to be in self. It's going to require you to lay your pride aside and to understand that your position alone is a position where people want to gravitate to you. People want to get next to you. I hear first ladies and pastors sometimes saying, "Oh, I ain't close to my members. Oh, I don't hang out with my people, or I don't deal with my people on that level." But some of them need that. Some of them need a friend. Some of them need somebody that they feel like they can confide in because they never had that. And so you have to deal with each person by that person. Everybody isn't the same.
Everybody isn't the same. Wow. All right. So what I want you to do is I want you to take my platform and I want you to, and this is the crazy thing because when you present nuggets for people and you start talking about healing and deliverance, or you start taking and uncovering certain things, most people don't want to hear that. But if you hype up their emotions and tell them this and tell them that, like they'll flock to that. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And a real first lady is going to tell you both.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to tell you both to help you.
Mm-hmm.
But I want you to take my platform, and I want you to just be carries that first lady out there who is hiding behind the title.
Mm. So you want me to speak to the first lady?
Yes. Well, wait. Wait. I want you to speak to the first lady, and then I want you to turn around and speak to the congregation.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Well, if I can speak to the first lady that's out there that's maybe struggling or may not know what to do or where to go from here, let tonight be your night where you say that I can change me, or I can change this situation. I can change the narrative. I don't have to be, who I was taught to be, because a lot of times, we're taught or we've seen other people in their position and we think we're supposed to act like that. If I can be honest, we're living in a new day and time. Um, and the new generation is looking for love. They're looking for somebody that's going to be transparent and real with them. And so I just encourage you to be yourself. I encourage you to allow people to see you, to allow them to see you in your uncomfortability, in your healing process, because a lot of them need that. A lot of them just need you. They just need the real you. They just need the authentic you. And if I can tell the people of God that's up here today, I can tell you to command your day every single day. Every day you have to wake up and you have to affirm and confirm that everything that God has promised you is so. Everything that you need, God can give you. You have a father that is rich with houses and land. You don't have to wait to get to heaven to walk on a street that's paved in gold. You can have that right here. And so I want to encourage you to command your day and prepare for what you're commanding. Prepare for that nice house. Prepare for that nice car. And you're asking me today, how do I prepare for that? How do I do that? Listen, you got to start dressing the part. You got to start dressing up. You got to start knowing who you are so God can put you in the room with the millionaires. He can put you in the room with the people that want to donate and give to you. He can put you in the room with the architect. But you got to start preparing for where you need to go, because I promise you, What's ahead of you is bigger and better than anything that you could even dream or imagine. And I know, listen to me, Joshua 1 and 9 says, have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you whenever you go. All I can tell you, baby, it's time for you to go. It's time for you to be everything that you've ever wanted to be. It's time for you to start dreaming bigger and better than you ever could even imagine. Listen, everything that you want, you have the chance to obtain. You got to start speaking those things that's not as though they already are and start walking in it.
So listen, I want to tell everybody thank you so very much for joining us on tonight. I really wanted to take a moment and to love on our first ladies because I do think that they're overlooked. But I wanted to hit so much tonight concerning that topic. And I don't think that we left any rock hidden. I think you turn everything over. So I thank you for being transparent. I thank you for just sharing from your heart. I thank you for sharing your story. And I also want to say, if there's anybody out there, you know, a first lady who is going through, just share this live with them. And always remember to celebrate your first lady because she don't have to be there.
That's right.
She really don't have to be there. So just celebrate your first lady. Anything else you want to share before
No,
we
it's not.
get out of here? All right, sis, you guys have an amazing evening and do it on purpose. Again, like I said, I think there was an upgrade in this live, and so I didn't quite have it down pat. But so y'all forgive me for that. All right, you guys have an amazing night. Do it on purpose.
Keep it 100 with Meshell.